A little less than 2 months ago, I participated in the second edition of the Bullet Heaven Fest with my game, RuneLight. Overall, things went pretty well. I got some sales, sent my game to some streamers, and I got some valuable feedback. Feedback that I will be responding to in today's devlog. But first, if you're new here, this is RuneLight. RuneLight is a horde survival action roguelike with a focus on weapon and build customization.
Never heard that one before.
What makes my game unique is the equipment system, a set of dynamic relics that can be changed out at any time and offer potentially game-changing effects. RuneLight is all about picking relics, finding synergies, and handcrafting your weapons to take out hordes of monsters. But now, on to the feedback. The most important piece of feedback I got was RuneLight was too hard. My honest reaction? Nerf, 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 nerf. You thought RuneLight was too hard? Well, now everything does half damage. Okay, this wasn't actually a response to the game being too hard. This was instead a response to the elements and debuffs not being worthwhile, which, to be fair, makes complete sense. Why would crowd control and status effects matter when most things die in 1 to 2 hits anyways? So, I cut the base damage of pretty much everything in half and doubled the effectiveness of all enemy debuffs. Even with all these nerfs, after some playtesting, the game still feels fair. Now, I did get feedback from one of the streamers that RuneLight was too hard. Specifically, they picked up the game, played for 15 minutes, and said, "I'm not gonna get any better," and quit. My knee-jerk reaction was, but this is why, as a game developer, an important skill is hearing feedback, parsing what the player actually means, and then making necessary adjustments. Because when a player says, "I'm not gonna get any better," what they really mean is, the game isn't gonna get any easier. Which I still think is kinda silly because just like everything else, RuneLight gets easier with practice. But this streamer did make some very valid points about hangups and issues with the games, and it is true that the game isn't going to magically become any easier just by playing. The question is, should it? Fundamentally, I don't agree that games should get easier just because you grinded them. I think games should start off with a reasonable difficulty that is completely attainable and winnable, but you might have to practice and learn the game before you start getting wins. A tough but fair approach, if you will. And frankly, I think RuneLight achieves this pretty well. That said, I'm not against a difficulty climb, starting out the game easy and making it tougher as you get acclimated. And I can appreciate that some people just want a casual brain-off experience. So, to remedy this and to address the feedback, I added 2 new difficulties, one which makes RuneLight significantly easier, and one which makes RuneLight harder. Oh, and remember when I said everything felt fair after nerfs? Well, I actually tested it against the hardest difficulty and was able to win 3 out of the 4 test runs, so I think the difficulty really is where it needs to be. And look, I'm gonna be honest, flat stat buffs aren't an interesting difficulty system. I only implemented them because it was something I could sit down and knock out in an afternoon, not because it's a difficulty system I'm proud of. In the future, I'd like to implement a proper difficulty climbing system, much like Slay the Spire or Tiny Rogues, but that'll have to wait until the map reworks. Now, I've spent a lot of time dunking on the streamer's complaint about RuneLight's difficulty, but they actually did make a lot of good points that I should address. One of the big things was lack of tutorial. I've been putting off adding a proper tutorial because I want to make sure the mechanics are really locked in, but I agree that the game does need at least some explanation. So, I added these pop-up boxes that explain how the mechanics work and disappear when you interact with their intended mechanics, or they can additionally be manually dismissed. Simple, but hopefully effective. Another piece of feedback I got was that it was too hard to tell and remember what can and cannot be upgraded, and you know what? This one's completely on me. In previous versions, I had a bar that told you exactly how many more you needed to be level up, and it flashed when it was the last piece you needed. However, I replaced the bar with a more stylistic 3 dots, hoping it would still be informative enough, and obviously it wasn't. To fix this, I additionally added these dots to the item's descriptions. Hopefully that'll help keep track of what needs to be upgraded and how far away it is from being upgraded. The last piece of feedback I got was that there is no extra attacks to unlock. My knee-jerk reaction is, what do you mean there's no extra attacks? Did you somehow not get offered any of the equipment that gives attacks? After checking out the VOD, I watched in horror as the streamer rolled past and skipped the additional attacks, only to complain they didn't exist. Well, of course they didn't exist, you chose not to take them! To be fair, this one's partially on me as I'm the one who made it possible to roll past and skip over critical equipment. So, to fix this, I made it so that the first time you could get offered weapon equipment, you're guaranteed to get offered weapon equipment. And you can't roll or skip past them. But here's the thing. Rerolling and skipping is a tool. However, it's a tool that requires knowledge. Players need to be able to identify when equipment is a good pick or not before they can properly utilize skipping and rerolling. So, to facilitate this knowledge, I made rerolling and skipping be unlocked only after beating the game at least once. Then it's permanently unlocked, everything's golden. And that's all the feedback I got around to addressing this time. Just a few little things that hopefully make RuneLight way more approachable and enjoyable. In the next devlog, I'll be talking about the actual meat of this update, which will be finally tackling the meta progress. If that sounds interesting, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, maybe leave a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, Elmock out.